Always on time. It is Dumb Guy Live 55. That's 55 for you right there. Monty counted the episodes. We've been doing this for over a year. We're doing shows. It's Dumb Guy Live. No Murph, but Jamie-san, you are here.
I certainly am. Certainly am. We've got quite a bit to get into on the New Japan side of things today. Not all of it is particularly good. In fact, a lot of it's pretty bad. But I am happy to be here for Dumb Guy Live episode 55. As you said, we finally figured out how long we've been doing this for. Before we get into anything, I do have a message that I want to share before we start the proceedings here from our good friend Six Star, who I believe is not watching tonight. So I want to share this message on their behalf. Poi Tribe, we are so fucking back. That's the message. I need to share that right at the start. Nats Poi is back. Big news. Stardom. Things are looking up once again. So that's how we'll kick things off. And it's all downhill from there, folks.
That was the highlight of the show. Congratulations. Yeah. We're moving on. We do have a $5 super chat right away from Chi-Town Spurs. Jamie, congratulations for beating that Tory club in the League Cup with a bunch of children.
Thank you very much. I was there at Wembley. Tremendous occasion.
Oh, you were there?
I was there.
Oh, that's fun. That's fun. That's good stuff. I like that. Is it like a hassle to like get in it, like do all the transport, like getting there and everything, or is it like fine?
Yeah, so we had we got a coach up, which took us around 4 or 5 hours there and back.
Wow.
I didn't want to say anything beforehand, but I was kind of dreading the possibility of a 5-hour coach journey if we lost. You know what I mean?
Right.
So thankfully, it was a bit more celebratory journey back, but. The journey itself is fine, but it's just long. But it was worth it, so no complaints.
Good stuff. All right, everybody. Yes, we are right on time. We are the only on-time Wrestle Purist podcast, and we are the only one who also sticks to a set ending. Too. We the show on time. I was not invited in the show with like 87 this weekend. It's fine. I'm like not even on it, to be honest. But yeah, let's talk about I figured it out. You are Caucasian. Yeah. But no, the crew here. We got Anjan, who What Is Love sort of. We got IDK, we got Simeon, we got Kyle, we got Shah, Trav is here. Trav doesn't even have a joke today. Japan has fallen. God save Ren Narita. Wow. We got Cookie, we got Tommy Gunn, we got our Portuguese. We're all here, folks. We got Overlord Dan. But I guess the thing is we're gonna get through this together, friends. We're gonna have pity party this year because it has been a long time. I've been as baffled and of New Japan Pro Wrestling as I am right now. So, Jamie, before we get into the shows, it was New Beginning in Sapporo this weekend. Do you have any overarching thoughts on just New Japan that you want to say? I mean, obviously they've lost a lot of talent with Ospreay and Okada and Tama Tonga, the big three. Oh, yeah. You know, their top three wrestlers, right? Coughlin's not around anymore, but obviously they missed they lost Jay White last year too. Lost a lot of big time talent. And then their older guys like Nagata and Suzuki and Kojima going kind of freelance. All of a sudden, it feels like there's this big talent vacuum, and the New Japan Cup lineup is indicative of that. So, any overarching thoughts on the state of New Japan before we get into these individual shows here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we've kind of talked about it over the last couple of episodes, particularly as these kind of departures have been unfolding with Okada and Ospreay. The necessity for New Japan to have got the next steps right with their younger talent was like so crucial, and these are kind of the earliest signs we're here with this show, and I think it's pretty evident from the reactions and the kind of sentiments around the promotion that they have not got the first steps right.
Right.
We're going to get into the individual matches, and then of course you talk about the New Japan Cup lineup, and there's a lot of work to be done. Potentially a lot of holes to be filled in terms of maybe New Japan needs to make some signings. They certainly need to ramp up how they're presenting some of the guys that they're you would assume are going to be built up to fill those voids. You look at like the Zack Sabre Juniors, the Musketeers, and the guys in around that sort of sort of realm. But yeah, I think as we're going to get through this card, it's going to be pretty evident that the first step on that journey has not gone down too well, particularly with the young guys, as we mentioned. But so yeah, we're going to get into it, but it's not looking good.
I think the best sort of microcosm for everything before we get into the specific show reviews is I posted a comparison of who the champions in the promotion were less than 5 years ago compared to where they are now. And there's obviously way more consistency and longevity in Japanese wrestlers and their tenures with promotions than in US wrestling, where the champions in AEW 5 years ago are like completely unrecognizable from where they would be now, right? But let's just do like the heavyweight champion Okada 5 years ago. Now it's Naito. Obviously, that's like not a huge drop off, but obviously it's Okada versus Naito. I mean, Naito is great, but he's older and he's not putting on the classics that he used to, generally speaking. Meanwhile, Okada was at kind of the top of his game. The Intercontinental and US championships, which are kind of, I would say, combined into the global championship right now. By the way, let's hold that thought for a sec. Let's actually just hold that thought.
Oh, here he is.
How are we doing? I just wanted to drop by, make my presence known,
Nice eye black. Are you trying out for the Central Florida football team?
No, I have an army function, so I got my American Nightmare hat on.
Nice. That's cultural appropriation. That's stolen valor.
We're gonna finish the story, but I just wanted to say that New Japan is not dead because of the wanted man, because he's wanted, so wanted, So I just wanted to make that clear. And have a great show. And I said in my Beast of the Week, and Jamie's a very lucky man for being able to go to the greatest cup final in the history of cup finals. So, up the Reds, up Jaden Dubs.
All right.
Have a great.
Thank you, Murph. We appreciate you stopping in. Catch you later, bro. Hate that guy. All right. So the champion comparison. Let's go through this step by step, because you guys are going to realize how the chat. You're going to realize how preposterous this gets. So, WGP, the Intercontinental and US championships kind of combined to be the global championship now, right? The champions were Naito and John Moxley, respectively, 5 years ago, less than 5 years ago. And the current champion is Nick Nemeth, who, not a bad choice. I like Nick Nemeth.
I'm fine with it.
The jury's out. I'm not like disappointed in it. This is the number 2 championship in your promotion. Maybe not the guy who was Dolph Ziggler 3 months ago. You want to have as the number 2 champion in your promotion, but jury's out. Not the same as Naito and Moxley.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Right. Can't compare there. So, the junior heavyweight champion was one William Ospreay less than 4 years ago. I would say the consensus best wrestler in the world right now. And I thought he was at the time, 5 years ago. The current one is House of Torture Show, who won the title from El Desperado this weekend after what a great reign Desperado had.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Cool reign, dude. That was really good. Definitely worth our time. The heavyweight tag champions were the Guerrillas of Destiny, who not a lot of people's favorite. I liked GOD. I thought they were solid. And I think it would be difficult to say they are worse than the teams of Hikuleo and El Fantasma, and particularly the team of Chase Owens and Kenta in 2024.
It's very dire. The New Japan Tag Team Division.
It's looking bad, folks. It's looking real bad. Why is like TMDK like not the? I don't know.
It's going to be so much worse as well if Coghlan's gone. It's they were like the shining light. They were after Aussie Open left. We kind of had the War Dogs in that void, and now it's not ideal. I think we need to bring back young blood as soon as possible. They're ready.
Oh, yeah.
They're more ready than, you know. it's
They
not.
are easily a better champion than both of the teams right now, just like right
Yeah,
away.
it's not a particularly high bar, but it's all we've got. You know.
Yeah, considering they're young lions, like that should say something. The open weight champion is an evil. There are two in the promotion that are held by House of Torture singles wrestlers right now. Not to mention the Bullet Club, all the Bullet Club champions too. Compare that with Ishii. like just in terms of like pure like in-ring enjoyment. Can you think of two heavyweights in New Japan who could feasibly who are like farther apart? Like
it's preposterous, man. This is I mean, you know, if you didn't think the situation was bad now after hearing all this, it's really it's not ideal, is it?
remember like this time last year, and we were excited because we were like, yeah, you know what? They're finally leaning into House of Torture being comedy, kind of a lower card act, right? And everything like that. And then the G1 comes around and Evil makes it to the semis. And then what else happened? And then now House of Torture are two of the four most important single company. They're the worst shit of all time. They are the single worst stable of all time. Includes Los Cucos from IWRG. House of Torture is legitimately the single worst wrestling stable of all time. Who likes them? Who's like tuning in and is like, woohoo! I get to see Yujiro. Like what? Ugh, okay, it's not even like the one wrestler in the stable who's like kind of cool right now is like Ren Narita. He's not a champion. He's just chilling.
It's frustrating as well because I talk about this a ton. Like some of the guys in there, obviously at the moment they're currently like some of the most unwatchable wrestlers in the world, but some of them can be good. Like we've seen that they can be good. Show can be a great junior wrestler. Evil can be good.
Show can be great.
He's been
Evil has had great matches. Ren Narita has, right? Kanemaru had like one of the best matches of his New Japan run last year against Hiromu. For the like, I don't know. It's just fucking waste of time. Like, ugh. God, fucking House of Torture. Stupid. And this also like this is not getting work. Like this, like I can enjoy good heels for what they are. This sucks. Like I don't want to watch the show when they're on the screen.
Yeah, there's a different people mistake sometimes the difference between like, you know, a heel being someone you want to root against and a heel being someone you want to like turn the TV off. And that's what that's what this is. We just don't want to watch it, you know.
Right.
So it's I don't know how long they can keep this up for, but it seems like they're only ramping it up now, which is it's not good for New Japan.
I would say the literal only title in the company that you can say is like comparably good is the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship, which it was Roppongi 3K, who were like one of the better junior teams in the last decade for New Japan. The War Dogs, Drilla, and Clark Connors have it right now. Like they're doing fine.
Yeah.
But I mean, if the only title that even comes to the prestige of how things were 5 years ago, the only title in the entire roster that even comes close is the junior tag belts, the least important belts in the company. Like, oh my God, dude. Like, and titles are all that matters in New Japan. They don't shoot angles. They don't do like TV. Titles are what leads to your stories and what leads to your big time matches on big shows. So I think that's the microcosm that sort of illustrates just how bad things are right now for this company. So with that, Jamie, let's get into these shows. All right. We had the New Japan New Beginning in Sapporo, day one from Hokkaido. Obviously, both shows from Hokkaido Prefectural Sports Center. We got a cool little kind of more of like an exhibition match than like an actual match to get started with Yuji Nagata versus Zack Sabre Jr. Obviously, Sabre got the big win here. But even this was like, it felt very low energy. I felt like so one of the great things about post-pandemic New Japan is that the crowds, like, if anything, even if the matches aren't that great, the crowds are usually great, right? I thought the crowds for both New Beginning shows were very lackluster. Maybe it's Hokkaido. I don't know. Maybe it's the venue, but Sabre got a win in about 8 minutes against Nagata.
Yeah, not too much to write home about. I think when we previewed the show last week, I talked about this. This kind of looked like a New Japan Strong pay-per-view match, but it didn't quite hit the heights that I kind of thought it could. But hopefully, I talked about earlier, Zack Sabre Jr., someone I'm very hopeful that New Japan are going to keep building up throughout this year, and they certainly need it. So hopefully this is kind of onwards and upwards and from here, but nothing too much to write home about.
We had a few undercard tags. We don't need to talk about Okada yet. We'll talk about him on the following night. IWGP Women's Title match. I thought this was the second best match on the show. Mayu Iwatani retained against Mina Shirakawa. Short. It was like 12 minutes, but I thought it was good action, good wrestling. Like both these wrestlers, it wasn't as nearly as good as it could have been based on the talent involved and like if they had gotten actual time. You know what I mean? Like Mayu's really good at the longer matches, like the epics and stuff. But yeah, I thought it was good. I thought it was a really good match.
Yeah, agreed. The Stardom wrestlers don't always get the time that we quite like them to have on these New Japan shows, but I think, like you said, they definitely made the most of it. I think Mina's come, such a lot. We talk about all the time. Come such a long way from where she was kind of 2 years ago, and now she's putting in great performances on New Japan cards on top of Stardom. Mayu, I think, is the best women's wrestler of all time, so no surprise here that she was up to it again. But the reign continues for Mayu. I'm not too sure how long she's going to be locked in with Stardom and whether she'll stick around. I would assume not, but so you assume that she'll be dropping the IWGP title at some point, but she's keeping it for the time being, and I'm more than happy with that.
We have a few super chats. Chi-Town Spurs once again, $5. Who are the guys on Excursion that are poised to come back in the next year or so? Like maybe Yuto and Oscar, right? But that's that's like even a maybe. Yeah. So sorry.
Ryohei was in Noah, right? It feels like he could come in. It depends if they're actually going to bring in Kaito Kiyomiya, which seems like something that's been, feels like it should be happening for quite a while now, and that they've been a pretty solid tag team. So maybe they come in together. But I like Oiwa a lot, but definitely Young Blood as a tag team. We said before, they're kind of more than needed right now.
But even New Japan, they're so patient with their excursions. Yeah. Shota Umino and Ren Narita were out for years before coming back. Like it was, and that was with a pandemic stint as well. But even so, they were out for a long time before coming back. So I wouldn't count on anybody coming back anytime soon, to be honest. What else we got? But I would love for Oiwa to come in, especially if he's packaged with Kaito. Pylons, $2 super chat. Some guy live.
Many are saying
that's the name of the game.
This is true.
Yeah, many. Yuzura Hard, $5. I've seen only option to insanely awful in regards to Mox beating Naito in Chicago. Where do you both stand? Oh, is there like for Windy City Riot right now? I guess I should know that as like a podcaster, but I guess I'm looking that up right now. But what's the next one? Well, there isn't a card yet. It's just match lineup. Oh yeah, there's only a couple things matched. It's just also on the website it doesn't say that it's for the title, but I think oh yeah, Mustafa Ali versus Hiromu is on the is on that show as well. But anyway, so I was just wondering card we could preview that. But so I with now how Ibu described it, I cringe when he talks about Japanese games. But I like the idea of Mox being champion if he's present, if he's consistently like it's okay. Obviously, he has to come back and miss TV, right? I don't think it's very likely. Just because Mox is like he's frankly a father, and both of the parents are constant travelers, and to be gone all the time is kind of difficult, and it just seems quite unlikely. I do think like in a vacuum, it would be the right choice. I love the idea of Mox as heavyweight champion. So much more interesting than I would say Naito in 2024. What do you think, Jamie?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think as you kind of point out, it's going to come down to whether Mox can, be consistently around for New Japan. I'm not sure whether he'd be there, how long he would be there. I assume the plan, if he was to put the belt on Mox, would be to get it onto Shota at some point. I think like that's kind of the natural progression from there. In terms of the side of it, I think it's definitely more a case of his kind of commitments to his family and stuff. I think in terms of his importance to AEW, he's obviously been like kind of the ace over there for a while. But I think if you're losing him for maybe 2 or 3 months, you're looking at who AEW are about to bring in. They're about to get Will Ospreay and Kazuchika Okada. So you can assume that maybe they could take the hit on not having Moxley around for a little bit if he was willing to do that. But that's all up to you can't force him to head over there unless he's kind of in a position to do so. But I would be all up for it. I really want Zach to pick up that belt at some point this year. I think he's really ready for it. So whether that would kind of prevent that from happening too soon, I'm not too sure. But in terms of where we're at right now with New Japan and the stuff we're going to get into, I don't think putting the title on John Moxley would be too much of a bad thing.
Thank you, Yozora. We appreciate it. Okay. This 2-match stretch was just like ironically torture.
Yeah.
We had Sho winning the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title, defeating El Desperado by count out for the title in the worst Junior Heavyweight match, title match I've seen in New Japan. This match fucking sucked. It was just bullshit, just like Heat beating the shit out of Desperado. I don't even have like a report to like give. It was just sucked. It was boring. Yeah, it wasn't even like funny bad. Like sometimes evil matches are like goofy funny, and like sometimes the crowd just hates him so kind of into it. Shows nothing. Also, I think like he's had where he's sort of beaten the odds that I thought Desperado also. I didn't think at all as the guy who's out of him. Like I didn't care necessarily with just hating House of Torture more than anything. Completely baffled. How the fuck is Sho the House of Torture like the junior heavyweight champion right now? What give Desperado at Wrestle Kingdom if you're just gonna take like? I don't get it.
Yeah, there's nothing redeemable about this. Like you mentioned, so at least sometimes with these House of Torture matches, and they're not, even when this is the case, they're not particularly, fun or even watchable at times. But usually, after this sort of shtick, the heels will get their comeuppance. It's in some sort of way. But this is just heat for the entirety of the match, and then a completely boring, like ridiculous finish. And then the outcome is that you now have one of the most unwatchable wrestlers in the entire promotion with one of your top championships. And you look at where we could have been with the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. Thinking back to coming away from last year's Best of the Super Juniors, and we had a really great tournament. And coming out of it, Master Wato looked like he was about to become a superstar in New Japan Pro Wrestling. They didn't pull the trigger on it. Hiromu kept the title, and then we shifted to Desperado, and now we're here, and it's like, that was a while ago. So you're looking back quite a while. But if you'd pulled the trigger then, would we have been in this position? Now it just feels like they don't really know what they're doing with the junior heavyweight title, and I don't know. It's a weird one. I do wonder with Desperado dropping the belt, and this is just like complete speculation. Like I don't know anything. But with Suzuki, seemingly he seems to have been done with New Japan Pro Wrestling, or at least for the time being, with the stuff he's recently been putting out. Desperado, I remember his contract being a little bit up in the air, and he does also take a fair few bookings, so in the United States and in around a few other promotions. I wonder whether maybe he's not sticking around. If he's been told that he's not going to move up, perhaps there's not too much new stuff for him to do there. So maybe that's something to monitor. But again, that's just completely kind of trying to make sense of the nonsense that we've just been throwing at us, really. because there's no real excuse to put the belt on Show at this stage with where he's at with his character. I didn't realize coming into this match, but many people were saying that if Show had lost, he would have had to leave House of Torture. I think that was part of the stipulation.
Oh, I
And
didn't even realize that either.
I don't think we mentioned it last week, but I feel like I've heard that mentioned, which makes this even more frustrating because, like I said, I like Show, the wrestler, when he's not doing this. So it's it's a double blow really, but yeah, not good. And the added thing that comes with this is now we're going to have the match with Naito, which is going to be on the anniversary show. That we sort of went from Naito versus Hiromu, which would have been great.
Naito versus Desperado is so interesting. Like I've never seen that match as far as I can remember. It's compelling. Like it takes the stable leader, also the stable leader of Desperado's biggest rival. Desperado always brings it in heavyweight matches. Think back to him versus Okada, him versus Ibushi a few years ago. Like that would have been such a fun anniversary main event. A fucking Show? What? Show is going to main event the New Japan anniversary show. It's what is happening?
I don't understand how no one took a look at that and thought maybe this isn't the ideal thing for our anime. It doesn't make any sense. Who thought this was a good idea? I don't know.
This anniversary card is fucking garbage, by the way. Right? Like the New Japan Cup matches on it there's one cool one, and it's Shota versus Jack Perry. It's Yoshihashi versus Kenta, and it's Toru Yano versus Yujiro Takahashi, and it's just tags. Besides that, this is like a house show.
Ways to celebrate the history of this
great.
country.
The anniversary show is yearly one of the most enjoyable shows on because it's like feel good vibes. Everybody's motivated. Everybody's working hard. They always put some cool matchups on there. Nope. It's fucking Show. It's fucking Show. Monty has commented that he made us a new overlay. Ooh, you love how it kind of doesn't fit, but I'm gonna go with it because I like Montel. So yeah. So anyway, I just fucking fucking Show, dude. Isn't it, man?
Doesn't get much better from here either.
No. So here, at the very least. So here's the deal. It doesn't happen often, but at least when you have a traumatizing moment like House of Torture winning a title, you can be very confident that in the next match, it probably also won't be House of Torture winning or retaining a title.
Yeah.
Not the case here, folks. We're going back to it. Evil. Nope. You thought, Shota Umino, you thought you were winning that title. You thought you were next up. You're getting beaten by Evil. One of the great things about this match sucked too. It was not as bad as the Show match. This was actually okay at points. Shota Umino was, I thought, infinitely more interesting than Desperado. And I also thought Evil, I just think Evil's better at the role. I say better at the role, which is like the role's terrible, but he's better at it than Show, I think. And I thought Shota came across as like a badass, like a sick, like real legit threat as he fought off the entire House of Torture. But then I thought the finish was terrible. Like they had really good wrestling, but then Evil just pins him with Evil. Like it was like he fought after everybody, and then they were on an even playing field, and then Evil just beat him, which is like it defeats the purpose of doing interference. The interference is supposed to protect people, but I didn't really feel like Shota was protected when he just gets pinned with his move. You know what I mean? So yeah, I thought this was bad too. Not the worst match on the show, but on the show. I say Show, and I think I misspoke because Show is also a wrestler. Not the worst match on the show, but also kind of bad.
Yeah. This resembled a wrestling match more than the previous House of Torture match did. But yeah, that doesn't make it particularly good. This kind of looked more like the typical House of Torture match that I talked about in the last one. Only we didn't get the finish in this either, which makes it more baffling, particularly after the one that just came before, as you said. So yeah, nothing too redeemable about this one either. it's not ideal. You know, as we talk about Show being Show, I can't get Show on my head now. That bastard. But Shota, when he's meant to be the next ace, and you're building him up to kind of in the first big shot you give him after that declaration, you have him get pinned, you know, by Evil, and not, as you said, not protected too much. Yeah, it's not great. Hopefully they have something big lined up for him, and that's why he didn't win the Never title here. But I'm also not super confident that's going to be the case with the way kind of New Japan's being booked at the moment. So yeah, not good in this one either. But you can only hope that they've got something bigger planned.
Add more title changes on this show. Matt Riddle is your television champion. He beat Hiroshi Tanahashi, the president Tanahashi. A very short match. I didn't think particularly good. Like, I thought he looked about as he looked when he left WWE, which is to say, he's a good wrestler, but I think he can be like great at points. And I didn't really see that in this one. Obviously, some mitigating factors. Tanahashi's old, match was short. So we'll see if he's able to put together, like, on a strong show. What if he were to wrestle like Eddie King, New Japan Strong Show, or something like that for this title? Like, that could be a different story. I think the jury's still out on him. In fact, I'm going to say the jury's still out on all of this. Like I said, my stance on Riddle has been I don't particularly care to comment on the out of the ring stuff, because I think there's, like, it's just difficult to know, like, thing. So I simply don't. But the baggage is there, and I completely get when people are like, "Nah, I don't want Matt Riddle to fucking win a championship in my company." With that being said, I'm gonna wait and see on this one, and we'll see how committed to the promotion he is, how consistently they use this title. The one thing I will say is that Sabre made this so consistent and valuable and important. It's going to be practically impossible for Riddle to match that. So even if Riddle has like a good reign, I think it's going to be compared unfavorably to Sabre's reign, and that's going to maybe limit his ceiling there.
Yeah, I kind of share your stance on Riddle on kind of both ends. I think it's very fair if people are kind of not interested in seeing him at all. But in terms of his in the ring stuff, I think your comparison with kind of his latter end WWE stuff is pretty accurate. I talked about it when we saw him in glimpses in the Tama Tonga. Yeah, where's Tama Tonga when we need him? What was I saying there? The Riddle we saw in glimpses in the New Japan Strong shows gave me a little bit of confidence that he was going to start picking up form again. But as you said, there's maybe not the most ideal choice for opponents. So we'll wait to see how he fares against some different opponents. I'm sure this title is defended very, very frequently, pretty much at every big New Japan show. So I'm sure we're going to see Matt Riddle in a few big title matches coming up soon. So we'll see how he progresses. But yeah, nothing too crazy, but also nothing like disastrous. But a title change for Tanahashi. He's going to be kind of moving himself up the card, it seems, which is it's pretty respectable as the president. That's I'd expect nothing less of a president that's also wrestling. So fair play to him. But yeah, Matt Riddle, new Japan Television champion. Controversial decision for many, but we'll see how it plays out.
They teased versus Sabre, speaking of Sabre, as the next match for this title, or one of the next matches for this title. They've had great matches together in Evolve and in PWG, I want to say. So I mean, that could be really good. And I would say, Sabre's better than he was at the time of those matches. I don't know if Matt Riddle's better, but Sabre certainly is. So that to look forward to in the future. The main event, the silver lining on everything we're talking about. Could you imagine if I had gone through that list and David Finlay was still the global champion? Oh my god!
I don't think we'd have been able to do this podcast. I think it'd have been like too dark for YouTube.
Yeah.
We'd have been restricted.
So thank goodness we did get the silver lining at the end of this tunnel, with that Nick Nemeth has defeated the 2023 shitter of the year, David Finlay, for the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship. And I love it. I didn't think the match was great. I didn't think it was or anything. I thought Nemeth looked fine. I'm just interested in seeing Nemeth in a match against somebody who's like a legit New Japan heavyweight. Like, you know what I mean? Not David Finlay. I guess that was my big takeaway. But I was just so happy when I saw the finish and Nemeth won that title. I think it's great. Like, Nemeth has become so likable for me after leaving WWE. I think he was outside of longest tenured person on the WWE roster when he left. So a really rare opportunity when practically everybody in WWE nowadays was a former indie guy, right? It's pretty rare to see people who weren't really indie guys nowadays leave and get a chance to do stuff outside of that. So I thought I thought I was finish here. Match wasn't crazy. It was good. I thought it was I actually did think it was the best match on the show. But I'm just glad that Finlay's not champion anymore. I guess that is relief, which you don't want relief when watching a wrestling show necessarily, but that was the feeling I got.
Yeah, this match kind of played out how I pretty much assumed it would, which is kind of Nemeth working as the underdog. But when David Finlay, he's not kind of the ideal guy to be in there with. He's not got the most interesting offense, and the crowd are often also not too interested in seeing his offense, and so it didn't make for the most thriller match. But as you said, with the way this show kind of kicked the shit out of us, I think that relief is what we were kind of looking for by this point. So the result was all I really cared about by the time we got to the finish, and I think also the crowd were way more into it by the time we got to the finish. I think the way Nemeth structured his comeback right towards the end, I think that worked a lot and getting the crowd on his side. So, Nemeth dethroning Finlay was very welcome. Anyone dethroning Finlay was pretty welcome, to be fair. But seeing Nemeth get that title, as you said, throughout his tenure in WWE, he's always been one of those guys that was considered underutilized, underrated. And he had moments here and there, but he was also like, because he was super consistent for them, and he also, he just never felt like he had a long enough spell on top to kind of show that for long enough. But and then again, when he left WWE, he was one of the guys who I thought, he's been there for a while. He's also doing a few other things. Maybe he's not going to stick around in wrestling, or maybe not commit to it as much coming away from WWE, which I think would have been, that wouldn't have been too surprising for me. So when he headed over to New Japan, that was very exciting as someone who, would have liked to see him get more big time matches and wrestle some of the better guys. So seeing him get the title, and I really enjoyed this kind of post match promo and stuff like that. And potentially, like you said, some of the bigger matches that we could get moving forward with some of the upper tier talent guys. I think it's very exciting. It's one kind of glimmer of hope coming away from this show, is that we now have a much more exciting global heavyweight champion and something fresh for New Japan, which isn't always good when some of the changes aren't ideal. But I like this.
Okay, that was night one, folks. Night one was kind of was more newsworthy in terms of like titles and everything, I guess. But I got to be honest, I don't think night two was much better.
No,
was much better at all. So let me open this here card. All right, let me make sure I got everything that I want to talk about here on the show. So amongst all this, just to like sort of rub salt in the wound, Kazuchika Okada is gone from New Japan Pro Wrestling. We had his final New Japan match in a 10-man tag match. It was originally Tanahashi was originally supposed to be in the match, but he was injured, so he was replaced by Toru Yano. And they beat a team that was the United Empire and Matt Riddle, and it was weird and very like sort of like not didn't have the gravitas of the moment. It was mostly Okada sort of like punking Great Khan, and that was kind of the big stuff there. Is just very like weird and surreal, and I don't know if you felt the same way, but to me it was like, whoa, this is very odd.
Yeah, it was strange. I mean, it was strange when the match was booked. Obviously looking at it from the outside, it very much appeared like the the Okada thing was kind of sprung upon New Japan. That's kind of evident with the card changes, which we talked about. That never really happens. But in the way they kind of handled this, I think if you'd have told someone, a couple of years ago, even just a couple of months ago, that Kazuchika Okada would be finishing up with New Japan, and this is kind of how it will all come to an end, I don't think they'd believe you too much. And I think, as much as it was nice that he's kind of seen out his dates, I think in terms of a send-off match for him, I think I'd have preferred if he just did the Tanahashi match and then kind of left, because I don't think this really achieved all that much other than giving, the New Japan crowd, two more chances to see him in a New Japan ring, which obviously seems like something we're not going to see, at least for a while, potentially ever. So yeah, nothing crazy to talk about in the match, but it's just very, very strange. And yeah, not the way you would have liked to have seen, one of the best Japanese wrestlers of all time, the guy in New Japan for so many years, to see his reign on top come to an end. But it is what it is. He's going to head over to AEW. Should be interesting to see how that looks as a TV wrestler. But we've got into that a lot. But yeah, just strange, man.
Weird. Watching you in New Japan, I guess I'll just say that very much. You were Okada was one of my wrestlers in the world for a lot. It's very disappointing that he's leaving. Even if I was still the big AEW fan that I used to be, but I'm not anymore, I think I would still be quite disappointed. But now, I don't know. I love this promotion, and I want it to be good. And very little indication out of these two shows that that's where they're headed. So I did think the farewell, but now, of course, Okada does show up later in the night. But in terms of the match itself, I thought the farewell for Tama Tonga was actually very well done in the very next match. I enjoyed this quite a bit. God versus God, special referee Jado, like it played along their story and their relations. This whole Hikuleo got to get the big pin over Big Bro, sending him packing on the way out. I just thought it was very heartfelt overall. This is one who Tama Tonga was somebody who sort of toiled and worked and was like a guy who was an undercarder or a tag specialist or whatever for a long. Over the last couple of years, he really worked hard to become a well-liked babyface and eventually won the Never Openweight Championship multiple times, defended it at Wrestle Kingdom. So, yeah, and won it at Wrestle Kingdom as well. So yeah, I thought this was a very good send-off for Tama Tonga. Tama was one of those guys. I liked him. He was never going to be one of the toppers in the company, but very reliable mid-card tag specialist type guy, which every promotion kind of needs. So him in WWE is baffling to me. I don't know about that one. A lot like when they signed Lexus King, the custodian Lexus King. But we'll fucking see. Maybe he'll be like Solo Sikoa and suddenly be like a main event player. I guess the jury's out. What do you think, Jamie?
Yeah, I kind of agree. This was handled way better than the Okada send off, which kind of makes me question even more what the breakdown on each end was kind of like. Because it also seemed like the Tama Tonga thing was very sudden, but they definitely gave this. It felt like they gave this a lot more of a spotlight than the Okada thing that had. But yeah, it was enjoyable. It was the perfect tag team match to throw out. I know we're not all fans of but God, at least the current format, and I'm also not the biggest fan of Tanga Loa at this stage in the game. But I think for what it was the right move to make, and the match did its job. It was fun, kind of send off, the kind of thing you'd expect. But yeah, Tama Tonga, he's been a great servant for New Japan for a lot of years. Obviously crucial in for so many years in what is the biggest faction in the history of New Japan Pro Wrestling, the Bullet Club, and then coming away, obviously had very successful stints alongside Tanga Loa, and then towards the last stage of his New Japan run, developed into an incredibly over babyface, which is a really nice transition to see for him. Obviously, not everyone's cup of tea. Some people celebrating his departure, but I think you kind of look at particularly when you look at where we are now. I don't think he was all that bad, you know. He always delivered in a lot of the big matches. So yeah, I think he'll be missed on the New Japan side. And in terms of where you know what he does next, it seems like he's somewhat confirmed that he's going to WWE, as you said. But whether they throw him in, I mean, I guess they could try and throw him in with some sort of bloodline thing. You know, Haku is sort of kind of considered a relative over there, I guess. So maybe they could kind of.
As we all know, Samoa and Tonga are the same thing.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I'm sure Haku is somewhere on that big tree. So
right,
you know,
yeah, exactly.
Maybe The Rock can bring him in, but I don't know whether. I don't know whether he'd be someone they'd throw in NXT for a bit. I'm not too sure. I'm also not sure whether Tama Tonga would kind of, in terms of it's like you know, the financial offer, would that be something that would have brought him over? So maybe he's going to head straight to the main roster. Yeah, Andrew points out there is a pretty good chance that there's going to be something going with the Good Brothers and AJ. It's you know that's the story they've been building. So maybe that's where they throw him in and they do a bit of a Bullet Club thing. But
yeah, Bullet Club.
I mean, you know, I wish him all the luck over there. He's been, like I said, he's been a good servant for New Japan. So I hope he kind of gets a nice chance to show what he can do. But it's a weird one.
He's also 41. Like it's pretty rare for WWE at that age. Yeah, I presume main roster for him, but I'm also into New Japan very intently at all. To WWE, I should say, very intently at all. We then had our five match, just five. Oh no, sorry, we had a completely for Nemeth and Finley like tag match. Don't worry about it. Then we had our five match LIJ versus just five guys series. Versus Taka Michinoku was completely forgettable. Nothing happened in it except Bushi's like cool dive that he does. I have nothing to say. I'm gonna blow past. You have anything to say about this? So no. However, the next match on the show was great. I thought it was Doki getting the biggest win of his career. Hiromu Takahashi beating him clean. Thought this match was really good. The crowd, I'm lower on Doki than a lot of people. I still don't think he's that good, but the crowd really loves him, and they obviously get into Hiromu matches always. Hiromu is the most consistent guy in the division by far, and it's really, I know he's been champion all the tired of it, but he really should be champion now. But it was a good big win for Doki.
Yeah, this was really enjoyable, especially compared to some of the other stuff we talked about. But yeah, a great win for Doki. He's someone. I'm also not as high as some people on him, but I also think he does tend to deliver when given a big spot. And this is one of the biggest spots he's been given. You know, he said probably the win of his career against the guy who's been on top of the New Japan, you know, junior heavyweight division for some time now. So, you know, in terms of where he goes from here, it'd be interesting to see. But yeah, just you know, nice high pace action as you expect from these two. Hiromu always delivers. But yeah, huge win for Doki. We talked about Sho being the junior heavyweight champion. I wouldn't mind Doki taking that off him pretty soon. At this point, if you're going to build someone, I guess that could be a way to go with it. But yeah, definitely a step, you know, a step up from the other stuff that we've had on these two shows, and a very enjoyable junior clash.
Next match was another great one. It's weird because it was at simultaneously a great match and also not as good as I wanted it to be. Taichi got the I would say a slight upset win over Shingo Takagi. This was exactly what you would think it would be, just maybe not quite as great as you would want. Like Shingo has been on such another level over the last couple of years that when something doesn't reach quite that level, then it feels a little bit disappointing. So on one level, this was like maybe the best match on the show, but on another level, it was also still kind of disappointing.
Yeah, and that's the caliber of matches that these two have been having, particularly with each other. Shingo, in particular, has such a high bar. I'm going to blame this one on Trent Seven for not living up to its to its hype. It's somehow his fault for the match they had in Rev Pro. Still rubbing off on Shingo, but yeah, I think it was probably definitely match of the night, and probably maybe the match of this 2-show spree here. But they've had better. It was still pretty nice and hard hitting as you expect from these two. Taichi got the win, which I talked about last week. Maybe Taichi could get a win here. He's another guy who I think I'd like to see him get a few big opportunities this year, because I think he's really come a long way in terms of the kind of level he's at on the card now. And I think more and more frequently year on year, as you give him these big opportunities, he tends to deliver. So I enjoyed seeing him getting the win here, and hopefully both guys can have some fun stuff to do this year, because I also think Shingo, I've said that a few times now, I think he was pretty underutilized last year. And as these gaps are coming up in the card, I think these are two guys who could use. It would be wise for New Japan to use pretty heavily this year in high positions.
One of the weirdest matches in a long time next was Yota Tsuji versus Uemura. This Hera Puesta match. Yeah, this match was just bizarre. The beginning was interesting, and I thought the very interesting, even if the finish didn't quite. I felt like it was very unearned. So I guess my thing with this match is I think people are overlooking. So okay, sorry, take a step back. The main criticism the match between Tsuji and Uemura here is it goes 28 minutes and it's not fought with the urgency that you would expect a hair versus hair match to be fought with, right? Like you would expect violence, you'd expect blood, you would expect whatever, right? To me, it's pretty clear the story they were trying to tell is that they're young lions at the start, and that they were trying with young lion move sets and young lion mannerisms and everything like that. To me, that story was pretty clear. And I feel like people didn't really pick up on that for whatever reason, which is on the competitors, but I don't know. To me, it felt like it was quite obvious. With that being said, I think they leaned way too far into it. I thought they weren't near subtle enough on that story to make it interesting. The idea is that you do this for the first few minutes, and then something happens, I don't know, Uemura bridges over on Tsuji and gets him at 2.99 or something. It 6 minutes in or whatever. And then all bets are off, and he just goes crazy on him, right? Starts beating him up on him. But while Uemura stays steadfast and is no, I want to keep to my style. And they kind of hinted at this type of match, but it ended up not being that way. And yeah, 30-minute epic with very little that ultimately culminated in Yuya Uemura losing his hair, that had very little, I felt heat to it at all, which was very strange. I thought the Wrestle Kingdom match was better. And I also don't think I don't think this is a big, here, I'll give you your thoughts and then I'll bring up what I was going to say. But yeah, it was just very bizarre to me. I didn't think it was actively bad or anything, just very strange.
Yeah, this match made me quite sad, to be honest, because I was very high on this going in. I had high hopes, particularly with as we've talked about so many times now on this podcast, but the importance of building these young guys, and these are two who I think have got potentially very, very bright futures. So this was an opportunity to really show out on a big stage, and just the lack of intensity, as you said, was so apparent. But for these hair versus hair matches, and usually because it should be important to these wrestlers, right? Especially in the context of New Japan doing a hair versus hair match, it's essentially setting you back to young lion status, which is
Right.
kind of how they play to this. So this should have been should have felt like a life and death situation for these two as they're kind of moving up the card to be sort of knocked back to square one. But and I think it did come across points that they were going for that young lion style in the early stages, but it played out too long. And also I think looking at kind of the two in terms of a stylistic matchup, Yuya Uemura now he's talked about kind of wanting to be more of a traditional style, stick to kind of the fundamentals of wrestling, whereas Yota Tsuji, when we've seen him in these big matches. He has such a kind of crazy, almost creative wrestler moveset that I think trying to match those two up, I don't think had the desired results, because I don't think Yota kind of was able to go all out in this one, which you would assume he would have been able to under the circumstances. Bust out all the big moves and kind of you know there was just, like you said, just a real disappointing lack of intensity. I don't think it's kind of like the end of the world, but I think there's a long way to go for these two in terms of getting back to kind of that level that we thought they could after this, because I think this is a real setback for both of them in terms of their standing. Particularly for you, obviously coming away with the loss here, where he kind of goes miss, I'm not too sure, but yeah, just very disappointing. A match that I thought would have set up quite nicely for the the next couple of months in terms of building these two. Leaves me kind of a lot lower on both of them in terms of where they're going to head. But I was happy that Tsuji got the win. I think that was the right call. I wouldn't have liked to have seen him lose his hair, but not the match I was hoping for. Not the match I don't think a lot of people were hoping for. Hopefully they can pick back up with both of them, because I think they can be great. But it's about making the right choices with them and them utilizing the spots that they're given in the right sort of way.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I wanted to say about sort of closing my thoughts, is like, I think the people who are like trying to make sweeping generalizations about like whether they have career futures or not, especially whether, I think that's like preposterous. Like, he's so far ahead right now of where like Great-O-Khan was when he first like maybe that's not the best comparison, because Great-O-Khan had too much, but I don't like, they would not have him be in a match like this if they didn't see the potential there, I guess. They gave him a win at Wrestle Kingdom. I mean, I guess, but I do trust New Japan's of the talent. He seems a lot than bad from Yuya in his career, and reason to believe that'll change going forward. It just depends on how people to this gimmick. We'll see. We have a couple cool pylons we will go over. I'm going to bring this one back up when we get to the New Japan Cup, because we will be talking about Jack Perry in a moment. But we have another one from pylons. $5. I feel like they ran the wrong combination of people. Yuya versus Ren Narita and Yota versus Shota Umino would be much better feuds going into the New Japan Cup. I can see that. I mean, obviously Yuya and Yota, like, they're eternally linked, just as Shota and Narita are. And if you'll recall, obviously Shota and Narita had their own really long like blood feud match in the last month, right? And the main event of Korakuen. So I don't know, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, you know, we're going to see those four kind of mix and match over the next couple of months, you'd assume. But yeah, I don't think the variations of the matches we've had so far have been too promising. But, you know, they're still finding their feet in terms of, you know, they're being forced to become main event level wrestlers a lot quicker than they usually would have. Obviously, they all have big potential. So, you know, I'm sure that's something that would have happened regardless. But with the departures, they're kind of being thrust up the card. Or they pretty much need to be thrust up the card pretty quickly. So, but we're going to see these four in matches a lot soon. So we'll see how they develop and how those different dynamics play out.
In the main event, we had a match that I can't remember, an IWGP Heavyweight Championship match that happened in Japan that I have like less to say about than this one. It was Tetsuya Naito, as expected, retaining the championship against Sonata, as expected, in a match that happened that was nowhere near as good as the Wrestle Kingdom match. There were botches towards the end. It wasn't like bad. Like, the crowd was more into this than they were on anything else on the show. I don't know. I don't have much to say. Naito's still champion. There was no shot of a title change here, so why book the match in the first place?
Yeah, this was about as flat as, unfortunately, as I kind of expected it to be. I talked about the initial match and kind of surpassed all the expectations. Admittedly, pretty low expectations going in, but they had a very exciting match, I thought, in the main event of Wrestle Kingdom. Particularly with the crowd and on the way it kind of played out. It felt a lot bigger than I think a lot of people expected it to. But this one, it just had none of the same intrigue going into it. You know, the result was obvious. You didn't have the Wrestle Kingdom crowd. You know, there was no chance of this being anywhere close to the previous one, and that's exactly kind of what happened. But yeah, so nothing really too memorable in this one. I think Naito got it with the roll up towards the end, but yeah, nothing really to write home about. A very disappointing end to what was a very disappointing two nights of wrestling. So I guess it was a kind of fitting main event, all things considered, in terms of how these two shows played out. But yeah, nothing too great. Hopefully, you know, obviously as we're gonna get John Moxley in a title match over the next 2 months. Obviously, hopefully the New Japan Cup, as we're gonna get to pretty soon. Hopefully that plays out in a decent way, so we have a few more exciting IWGP title matches. They certainly need it after these two shows. But yeah, not certainly not, you know, the standard of IWGP World Heavyweight title matches you'd hope for.
Yeah, I don't have much more to say. I will say the post match
Yes.
I thought was fun. Yes, this was very good. Okada comes out, Kazuchika Okada. Obviously, his most defining rival is probably Hiroshi Tanahashi, but I would say I would put Naito at number 2, and as the current champion, it was good that Okada was able to come out here. So he comes out, Naito teases, he does the LIJ pose, and Okada thinks about it, but then he goes for the Rainmaker, but Naito avoids it, goes for the distance, and you know, and it's all everybody. They just sort of have a stalemate between their poses, and it was good. It was very fitting. This was like just two stars playing the hits, sending Okada off.
Yeah, this was really nice. I mean, this is the type of thing that you need when you get having a send off at this level, and definitely a much more fitting end, I guess, to Okada's tenure with New Japan than what the matches were, and it put a nice kind of ending on, as I said, the two very disappointing shows, and I think these shows really needed this, something kind of memorable, at least outside the ring, you know, that we can take from these. And yeah, it was definitely fitting. It was nice to see Okada in there with Issa as one of his biggest rivals. So he had the match with Tanahashi, and now we got this moment with Naito, which is nice to see. But it's you know, it was another reminder that Okada's going away. So it was also kind of a bit of a bleak look into, you know, we're not going to have that anymore. But I was definitely, you know, grateful that they were able to put this together right at the end of the show.
Right. Of baffling, I would say, and winning an overall discourse. Couple nights up there in New Japan, up Idaho. Looking up a little bit, we have the new, which is always worthwhile. Coming up here, we also, of course, have Naito versus Moxley. But let's talk about the New Japan. So let's start with Pylon's back to it. $5. Any excitement at all for Jack Perry in the New Japan Cup? I don't know about you. I'm stoked. I'm really looking forward to Jungle Jack Perry in the New Japan Cup.
Yeah, me too. I really like Jack Perry's talent. I didn't love his kind of last run with AEW in terms of his heel character, but
I thought it was atrocious. It was terrible. But yeah.
But I think coming into New Japan, and you know, seemingly with a slightly different angle on his heel, you know, the kind of the scapegoat character he's going for, I think that could definitely work, playing into the kind of real life, you know, stuff with the fallout with AEW there. I think there's a real chance for Jack Perry to get back to his best in a completely different environment. Obviously, he's got a big match in the first round, which we're going to get into. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it could be nice if he's going to be around. You know, for the next couple of months, maybe longer. We don't really know what the situation is. I think it could be a real nice addition to the New Japan roster for the time being.
Need to get super into like listing every single wrestler out here. I will say at a glance, we were talking about this before the show, the New Japan Cup lineup is just so, like, compared to the talent that they've had with Okada and Ospreay and Jay White and just, you know, even just bringing in freelancers and people like that. You know, we're missing people like Ibushi and stuff like that. That it's just not the same. Like there are some, yeah.
Yeah, the drop off's very apparent when you see it kind of laid out
Mhm.
the way it is, and you see that the names that are missing and the names that have made the cut this year. It's
I mean,
it's all laid out there.
on the left side of the bracket, the biggest stars are either Sonata, Shota Umino, or like Finley. Like those, like on the entire left side of the bracket, and Sonata's not winning it, obviously. Like, dude. So let's just talk about, and you should get the bracket up in front of you too. First round matchups that we're looking forward to. For me, the one probably that I'm looking forward to. Well, first of all, Sonata, Evil, Goto, and Saber get buys, so it's a 28 person New Japan Cup. After the first round, it'll be we'll be down to 16. But it's, for me, the first round matchup that I'm most looking forward to is Shingo versus Yuya. For a couple reasons. Most obviously because Shingo Takagi is one of the best wrestlers of all time, and I think he's great against just about anybody. But number two, I'm intrigued to see what this new version of Uemura ends up looking like. Is he just shaved head and he comes back and is the same wrestler? Does he switch things up a little bit? What's the goal here? Does he revert back to young lion status and only do and sort of present himself that way? I'm intrigued there. So to me, that's the matchup of round one that stands out to me the most.
Yeah, there's in terms of just pull the lineup up now. The first round, I think that Yuya and Shingo one's definitely one that stands out. I'm also looking at the Gabe Kidd and Callum Newman. I think it's an interesting one. I think New Japan are very evidently very high on Callum Newman, particularly with the way they kind of used him in the War Games match. So throwing him in there with Gabe Kidd, keeping that United Empire and Bullet Club thing going, and also you would assume Gabe Kidd gets the win there and maybe puts together a nice little run in the New Japan Cup, but maybe Newman scores an upset and that's how they kick off this is a sense up the kind of rankings there. Terms of other matches that maybe stand out. Yeah, usually a match like Taichi and Ren Narita will be something that would be interesting. But seeing how Taichi, what he kind of get out of Ren, but with House of Torture potentially playing a factor there, that's another thing that's not ideal in terms of what this match could be.
I think Tsuji versus Jeff Cobb could be quite good.
Oh yeah,
that's sort of a unique match. I don't think we've seen that one yet. Cobb is like underrated, but he's like so great. Like he pretty much always lives up to the task in these types of matches. Couple interesting people. Obviously, Jack Perry we talked about earlier. I would say the other interesting addition is TJP, who is moving up to the heavyweight division. We'll see if he continues like his sort of like mystical gimmick, if he's continuing that. I mean, he's matched up against Finley in the first round. I would love to see him beat Finley in the first round. Seems rather unlikely to me, although Finley did get a big, obviously, the New Japan Cup push last year too. If you'll recall, Finley was the finals and people were like back or a year later, and they main evented the of New Beginning. I don't know. We'll get a detailed preview next week because entire first round and part of the second round following week, like they do like 6 shows in 7 like that. But overall, he was like is pretty. Put money on is like win this one.
You broke up a little bit there. I'm not too sure what you said right at the end of that, but
I was just asking any sort of prediction for this one.
A prediction
for the tournament as a whole. Yeah.
This isn't going to be what you want to hear after the stuff we've just gone through. I'm very concerned David Finlay is taking this, to be honest. I fear that David Finlay may get the win in this. I hope not. I hope they give it to one of the younger guys. Maybe it shows at Umaro, and that's why he didn't win the Never title, and maybe they're going to build with that, particularly if John Moxley maybe is going to be picking up the title at some point soon. But yeah, it's now a solo podcast. Parker's gone. It's just me. This is just Jamie live. He's back. Here we go.
I just wanted to get the timing. We were. So yeah, but no, yeah. You're worried about Finley? That's so terrifying. Finley versus Naito. Can you imagine?
I got a bad feeling about it. I hope I'm wrong, but I fear what Gato may come up with this tournament.
It doesn't feel like Saber set up him and Riddle. I hope Shota. I hope Shota Umino.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Uemura. Maybe it's they did this. This was like the story they told last year, which was that Sonata like kept fucking losing, and then he gets in a New Japan Cup and switches. You know, he switching. You know, got his hair shaved off or whatever, and goes really far. But to me, there's like nobody who stands out as like a winner to me. I got nothing. You could do Shingo. You can always lean back on Shingo. Shingo versus Naito is a match that has not happened very often at all, obviously, as they're stable mates. That could be an option here, but I don't. There's just not that many that stand out.
I think what it kind of stands out as being is it's just, you know, as we've been talking about, it's just another chance for New Japan to kind of make a move in the direction of picking one of the guys and really honing in on him, whether that is Azaka, whether it's one of the younger guys, you know, like the Shota, Yuya, Yota Tsuji. So yeah, I think, you know, those kind of possibilities, or whether they go to a Shingo who's always reliable, are exciting. But the prospect of a David Finlay New Japan Cup win after everything we've been through on this episode is definitely would be another killer blow for this promotion. So hopefully, you know, cooler heads prevail there. But I can't get that idea out of my head, unfortunately.
All right, Jamie, that's enough fucking New Japan talk. I'm sick of it. I don't want to talk about this damn promotion anymore. Let's talk a little Stardom, more specifically Julia and Rossy Ogawa. So big reports coming out of Julia today. Take us through it.
Yeah, so earlier today, Tokyo Sports dropped essentially confirmation, or at least a report on their end confirming that Julia is finishing up with Stardom in March. She'll be, I believe, at the end of the month. Her contract will be up, and as multiple reports, I believe, from Dave Meltzer and Pfeiffer and the like had already said, she'll be leaving at the end of her contract. This was then seemingly confirmed by Julia herself, who quote tweeted it with something to the effect of "as free as a bird." So she's confirmed it now. She will be leaving Stardom. We can officially say that without having to say reportedly. She also said she declined to comment on where she's heading, but she also said that she has made the decision of where she was heading. And then shortly after, we had another Tokyo Sports couple of quotes coming out of there from Rossy Ogawa, essentially confirming that he is basically confirming he's going to make an offer to Julia for the new promotion that he's going to be starting, which I think was something that we kind of speculated on and something that seemed likely. I believe Dave Meltzer reported on that at some point too. So, and with the kind of timeline of where we expected, or when we expected Julia to head to the WWE, there was kind of a gap in the schedule there where it looked like she was going to take a break until obviously the whole Rossy new promotion thing came out. So I think that makes sense for Julia to head over there and kind of help Rossy start that up. She clearly has a lot of loyalty to Rossy Ogawa. That was kind of the promotion or the vision of Stardom that she joined when she walked out of Ice Ribbon. So she's seemingly going to help him start that up there, and then, as expected, head to WWE. So nothing too shocking. I think it's pretty much just confirmation of everything we kind of thought of. But it's nice to finally have that kind of set in stone. We know this is the last month we're about to head into of Julia and Stardom, which isn't ideal, but the Stardom as a whole is going to change a lot over this next month or two, I feel. So I think this is the first change in many to come.
Yeah, to me, yeah, like you said, or anything. To me, I'm just very interested I just want to get to the point where this is all played out
Yeah.
already. Like, I don't know about you, Jamie. I don't feel like I can be that interested in because I'm like, who's gonna be in this promotion 6? You know what I mean? With also like knowing that Julia's going to is very odd too, because like, to what extent is she going to with Rossy's promotion? Way like how much is help is a couple months of Julie? How much is she willing to delay that? How much is WWE willing to tolerate that delay? What's the relationship there? Is there potentially a working relationship there? To me, it just makes it very, very odd trying to consume. We're obviously big fans, but yeah, the vibes are very weird around these companies, and I want it to play out already. I really don't. One of my least favorite parts of wrestling is just knowing that things are going to change, but you still have to like do your shows and everything in the mean. And yeah, I'm still just waiting for all this to play out. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like we're roughly about a month away from hearing like concrete information on this new Rossy thing. March was kind of touted as the month where a lot of contracts are going to come up. So you assume that the kind of plans will be put in place around then. Obviously, I don't know how far ahead Rossy is in terms of putting this whole thing together. But it seemed like he was committed to leaving in terms of like November last year, I think. But even just like the name of the promotion, what other maybe freelance talents are going to be in and around there, you assume Rossy's going to pull from a few other places as well. So yeah, and I totally agree as well with the sentiment you said before in terms of general interest in Stardom right now. We talked last week about the Cinderella lineup, and obviously there's a lot of big names out there. They're clearly going in a different direction, but just in terms of the general direction of the promotion right now, it's a struggle to get invested when you don't know if a wrestler you're kind of rooting for is going to be there within the next 2 months. And when you look at the wrestlers who you would assume hold a lot of loyalty to Ogawa, the long tenured wrestlers there, the Stardom originals in particular, and even some of the ones that aren't. Julia by no means is a Stardom original. She kind of walked in, coming from Ice Ribbon and hasn't really been there for all that long compared to some of the other wrestlers in Stardom. So it's very difficult to imagine who's going to be there in the next 2 or 3 months, and how the dynamics of Joshi wrestling are going to look in terms of this new promotion. So yeah, it's going to be a very, very interesting time coming up, but it's a very agonizing wait as we kind of wait to see how it plays out. You assume they're gonna put a few matches together for Julia. We already have the faction disbanded, but yeah, it's kind of a countdown now to the end for Julia and whoever else is going to follow her.
Anything else you want to talk about, or do you think it's about that time, Jamie?
There's been nothing too major in the world of
it's been all New Japan. Been all New Japan going on.
I talked a little before we went live about the big debut of DDT. I know you haven't quite caught it yet.
Hold on. Well, let's just hold. I'm going to stop you right there.
Okay.
For our piece of the week. I have a couple suggestions from Murph. Chill with both of them. First, it is his as you suspected, is it Van Dijk?
Virgil Van Dijk, the Liverpool captain.
Virgil Van Dijk is his because as we discussed before the show, I presume he did well for Liverpool.
Yes.
Was he a star at Wembley?
He certainly was. He was the Liverpool captain. He also scored the winning goal. He scored a goal before the winning goal, but it was offside, controversially. But he did score the winner 2 minutes away from full time. Joyous scenes in the Liverpool end at Wembley. My dad's glasses went flying. He nearly lost them. Flares going off. smoke bombs, joyous scenes. So yeah, a very deserving beast of the week for Virgil van Dijk.
All right, my beast of the week. I'm like having trouble deciding because there just really, folks, aren't that many great choices. I'm gonna go. This I feel like we've done this before in the last few weeks, but I'm gonna go with Drew McIntyre because
Yeah.
I think he's just been so funny. Like he's so locked in. This is the best he's ever been, and he's been good for a long time. But he's combining being like a killer wrestler with being immensely entertaining just in everything else that he does. I'm so glad. It's so nice to see wrestlers continue to grow as performers year after year. McIntyre was kind of a shitter when he showed up in WWE the first time, when he was like the chosen one or whatever. But he's just grown, and now he's one of the most reliable American talents going there today. So I'm gonna go with Drew McIntyre. What about you, Jamie?
Yeah, I am
And
unsurprisingly.
you don't see here. So our collective, sorry, my apologies.
It's all
Murph
good.
suggested that for our collective beast of the week, we go with Kaisei Takechi, which you were alluding to earlier, and I completely agree with that. Mostly just because of the clips I saw. I did not watch the match, but I have seen the clips, and oh my god, you would never believe this was his debut, right? He was in there in a six-man tag main event at Korakuen Hall in DDT, teaming with Yuki Ueno, the champion, Shunma Katsumata. He's against Takashi Masada and Endo and Hideki Okatani, and he's just doing shit like he's a star out there. So I think he is a fitting collective beast of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad we kind of touched on him. I think he's very, very deserving. I was able to catch the match, but he just had total he just seemed like the total package out there. He had everything from the entrance to the look, and then when the bell rung, he was able to deliver. I guess it was sort of a celebrity match in a way, but as a wrestling debut, a lot of them don't really get much better than that in terms of a starting point. And I know he had a little bit of experience in terms of, I believe he did some sort of TV show about wrestling, but in terms of the level he was able to produce in this one, I think it was very very encouraging. I don't know how much wrestling he's going to do. I don't know whether he's sticking to it. He obviously has other commitments as well. But I think it'll be interesting to follow Kaisei Takechi's journey in DDT, because I think if he does stick with it, I think DDT have got a real main event level star on their hands for the future, particularly with the crowds he's able to draw and the reactions he gets. He's going to be a big player. And
it reminds me of D'Angelo Williams back in TNA like a decade ago, and just how incredible he was, just doing it kind of on sheer force of will and athleticism.
Yeah.
So some people just get it, and clearly this guy gets it.
Absolutely. My beast of the week to kind of round us out. Unsurprisingly, I'm going back into the Liverpool kind of realm. I had to for Wembley, particularly with being there. My beast of the week is going to be our goalkeeper for Wembley, is Kevin Kelleher. Kevin Kelleher, he's been a little inconsistent this year, but he always performs in the big finals. Our current number one goalkeeper is injured, but we knew Kelleher was going to play regardless, because we kind of give him the chances in this. But my God, did he have one hell of a performance? There were multiple times throughout this match where I thought it was all over, and it probably really should have been all over. There was 5 minutes from full time where I don't know how Chelsea didn't score, but as the ball was played across and I looked up and saw the time, I was like, this is over. And then he saved it, and we got the win. And I think it's all down to Kevin Kelleher. So the Irish goalkeeper is my beast of the week. That rounds out our beast of the week for this week. 2 Liverpool players.
2 Liverpool players, a celebrity, and Drew McIntyre, and that's our
what a lineup.
That's our beast of the week. Yeah, but hopefully the New Japan Cup turns things around for the beloved squared circle in Japan. But Yeah, it's weird. Just a few months ago, I felt like we were on top of the world with how exciting Wrestle Kingdom season was, and you know, all the there's all the even small promotions had little exciting things happening for the most part, and I don't know, it's just very, very drab right now. I hate to be reactive as a podcaster. I'm definitely one who's more like let things play out, but all the sort of frustrating decisions piling on top of each other over one weekend made this a very frustrating time to be a New Japan Pro Wrestling fan. But with that being said, we will be back next week with a full New Japan Cup preview. We'll go over every first round matchup. We'll make our predictions. We'll go through. We'll see if there are going to be any surprises, anything like that. And yeah, that'll be the bulk of our show next weekend. So for Murph, who couldn't make it tonight, for Jamie, for myself, P, this has been Dumb Guy Live. Stay dumb, everybody.